So Phil Spencer's doing his media tour after the Xbox Developer Direct. We saw the interview with Gamer Tag Radio where we got some good information about the future of the Xbox console. And of course, there is going to be a future there, and they still want to give that as a great place to play. And now he had an interview with Destin Laguerre when we got some interesting information on the Xbox Series S and the parity clause. And I think Phil Spencer's answer to this question is very good. So we will go over that. We have Gears E-Day information. There is a well-known partnership that has been announced between People Can Fly and Gears E-Day. Will we see this game this year? Those are the rumors, so we'll have to wait and see. Will Ori 3 ever get made, and will it be again in partnership with Xbox? Could be a thing. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth hits PC to incredible numbers for the PC release, and again, this is why these companies don't want to skimp out on other platforms. They don't want to be locked down anymore. Ubisoft, more information there, closing down of a studio, which is not looking good, and some more information about the Assassin's Creed Mirage DLC. They commented on that apparent Saudi Arabia deal. We also have some more information as to what is to come next from the Dying Light developers and the Dying Light era, and the rise of the Ronin. Previously a PlayStation exclusive, not anymore. So we'll jump into all of that stuff. If you do enjoy my content, as I see many of you are watching and are not subscribed, please consider hitting the subscribe button to help the channel grow. And thank you everybody who is already subscribed, of course, and share the video, like the video, all of that stuff. Let's jump into it right now. Let's talk about the Xbox Series S, because the Xbox Series S is, I guess, always a controversial thing since it got announced. People were thinking it was going to hold back this generation. Others thought it was a great idea as a lower entry point to get people into the current generation of AAA games. I think the Series S this generation has been far better than worse. I mean, most games, 99.9% of games are running on the Series S. You get to play everything that does get released, and it's very cheap comparatively to the Series X, the PlayStation 5, or even more expensive, the PlayStation 5 Pro. And if you're playing on a 1080p monitor, 1440p monitor, it's a great little device to have there where you can just jump in and get all of your Xbox content. And we are seeing this industry right now really expand out into handheld. So the Series S is going to be something that these developers who are developing games for the S will already have an advantage, because they've created versions that could potentially be running on the handhelds. So I think that's going to be a major player going into the next generation. And Phil Spencer comments on all of this, and he seems to have similar thoughts here on the Xbox Series S. This is via the Destin Laguerre interview, so go check it out on his channel. But he asks this question: would you ever consider dropping or adjusting the Xbox Series S parity clauses with the Xbox Series X? Those sort of requirements. Some developers have brought up difficulty optimizing for the Series S. Can you tell us any more about the plans there? Here's what Phil Spencer says. He says, I think about it in almost exactly the opposite way right now. With the rise of handheld PCs and even the introduction so far of the Switch 2, as developers were building on more device spec, I actually think we have a real advantage because we've been targeting this Series S for quite a while. So when we look at a Steam Deck or an ROG Ally or something, we've got this Series S version of the games that's more tailored to the device specs of a lot of devices that frankly are getting introduced right now. And frankly, the scalability of engines today allows them to scale. He says, I'm playing Indiana Jones on the Series S and it looks great, so it's definitely capable of playing current generation games in a great way. But most of your games that are going to be out there are going to be supporting these different devices, and the Series S spec actually maps pretty well to the devices that we're seeing introduced right now. So I think it's actually an important design point for teams going forward, that kind of power and performance mix that you see in the Xbox Series S. Now, I 100% agree with that, because if you do look at what is coming out, we do have the Steam Deck with ROG Ally, the Lenovo Legion Go's. We have a whole new slate of Lenovo Legions that are dropping with the Lenovo Legion Go S, and they also have a Steam version, all of that type of stuff. And going into next generation, we're hearing Xbox is making a handheld. We're hearing potentially PlayStation is going to jump back into it. Handheld gaming is going to be a major entry point for a lot of people. And those handhelds are not going to be top of the line. They're not going to have all of this extra power that the at-home consoles have. And if you're a developer who's been creating your games for Xbox, creating your Series S version, it is going to be far easier to get that version to run on these upcoming handhelds versus trying to, again, scale down the Series X, PS5, or PS5 Pro versions. So I do think Xbox has an advantage here where developers are kind of already prepped for the handheld gaming in the future and into the next generation. So the Series S, I don't know if this was specifically in the plans. I don't know if they could have seen the future of it going this way, but I think Xbox kind of got lucky here with the fact that the Series S has been out for so long and developers are already kind of using it to scale down their games to run on these lower powered devices. So going forward, the Series S parity thing isn't going to go away, and I think that's completely fine. A lot of people say it should be gone, but reality is, again, 99.9% of the games are running on there. The developers can get their games running on there. It really is just kind of up to the skill of the developers, the time and the resources that they do have in order to get these games optimized for the platform. You'll see, for example, Indiana Jones, as he said, plays very well. You can play Starfield on there. Upcoming Assassin's Creed Shadows, which looks very good graphically and everything, that'll probably be running fine on the Xbox Series S, a lower resolution and stuff like that. But they'll get those games running on the platform. So it really does come down to the developers' time, resources, and I would say overall skill to be able to actually make these games for the lower power devices. One of the things with Black Myth Wukong was that everyone always glosses over when they talked about this Series S as it potentially being a problem, is that they don't have very much experience developing for consoles. And they even said that themselves. You saw with the release of the PS5 version how there were so many issues there. So with the next game coming from Game Times, I'm sure they will be able to get it running much better on the consoles themselves. So Series S is going to be huge here, and those versions are going to be big for the upcoming handhelds that are coming into the next generation. All right, Gears of War E-Day. If this drops in 2025, it's actually insane if you add that to the current lineup of games that are coming from Xbox. And in the Destin interview, Phil Spencer did say there are more announcements coming that we haven't heard yet. So it could be here that Gears of War Day is one of those games. So the second half, we still don't know exactly what the launch lineup is going to be like for 2025, but we have more information here about the game and a partnership that it's well known. They've worked together previously on the first 3 games for Gears of War, as well as Gears of War Judgment. And that partnership is People Can Fly. They put this announcement out saying, People Can Fly is thrilled to be working on Gears of War E-Day, the next mainline game in the renowned Gears of War series, as a co-development partner with the Coalition. It says, we are honored to return to the world of Gears of War, a franchise deeply embedded in our studio's history. As lead developer of the iconic Gears of War Judgment and co-development partner on Gears of War 1 to 3, we have always been passionate about this series and its legacy. So this is great to see. They're going back to the roots, not only with the characters, with the story, but also with the development cycle and who they are working with to develop these games. And I think this is a great choice. Clearly, they did a great job with the first 3 games, and I enjoy Judgment, and Judgment wasn't people's favorite Gears of War, but I thought it was pretty good. So we'll see how Gears of War E-Day now turns out when they're basically just going back to the roots overall. I can't wait to see this. I mean, Unreal Engine 5, the Coalition are very high quality developers in the stuff that they do release. I think this is going to be mind-blowing when it does eventually come out. You just have to sit back and take a look at Hive Busters. That was a small DLC to Gears of War 5, and that is still one of the best looking games out there and technically runs phenomenally. So if you haven't checked it out, definitely go check out Hive Busters. But Gears of War E-Day, I think, is going to blow a lot of people away. One of my other favorite series is Ori, and the first 2 games, some of my favorite platformers, Metroidvania style games that I've ever played. I'm always hoping here that a new Ori game is going to be coming out, and we potentially could see this, and potentially again see this in partnership with Microsoft. And Microsoft is definitely putting their tentacles in a lot more places from a third-party publishing perspective, and a lot of, I think, enticing things that Xbox is going to be able to offer to these developers now from the Xbox Global Publishing Department is Xbox Play Anywhere and getting their games on other platforms on top of Xbox, while still being given all this money from Xbox themselves. And we've seen that with the Ninja Gaiden series. But Ori potentially could be working here with Xbox again. This comes via Reddit, and this is from the Ori and the Blind Forest subreddit. But it's labeled here official info. And this is Thomas Muller. As we know, Thomas Muller, very outspoken. He actually just recently commented on how he agrees with the Xbox strategy of putting their games everywhere. And he mentions this here. These are his Discord messages. He's responding to somebody writing, Ori 3 is currently being worked on by some studio. And Thomas Muller responds and says, might be, but in that case, they would have never reached out to us/me, which I think would be very strange. And then someone says, I know Wicked is like designed to be the perfect game, but I am kind of sad it means we don't get a 3D platformer from you guys for at least 10 years. And then Thomas Muller responds with this, says, don't know about that. Wicked is the highest priority for me, but we just had a call with Microsoft a few days ago. Let's see what will happen. We'll be able to do a lot of things, but again, I'll be on Wicked and perfect it. So there you have it. I mean, it doesn't confirm that Ori is being made. It doesn't even confirm that Microsoft is going to definitely work a deal out with them, but it does sound like they are talking and trying to figure out if something is possible for their next game, whether that's Ori 3 or a different 3D platformer of some sort. But I would say it would make a ton of sense if they were to come up with a new Ori game and then it gets published again here by Xbox Global Publishing. You have Thomas Muller here, who again recently just commented on Xbox's strategy. So you know that when they're reaching out to these developers, they're saying, hey, if you take a deal with us, with our Xbox Global Publishing department, your game is going to get money from us. You're going to be able to have it on Xbox Game Pass, Xbox Play Anywhere, and at the same time, you're still going to be able to put your games onto Nintendo Switch, PC, and on the PlayStation 5. So it's just a no-brainer, I would say, for the majority of these developers out there. And then for the Xbox side, you're getting these games day one on Game Pass. That is the win for the Xbox consumer. Well, and I think we'll see a lot more of this happening now, with that as a huge selling point, where they're going to be able to make a deal with a huge company like Xbox, Microsoft, and not be only restricted to a certain amount of players, which is what would happen if you made a deal with PlayStation. You're just going to be constricted here, at least for a little bit, to the PlayStation platform. And these developers know that's not what they want anymore. They can't make enough money doing that. They can't reach enough players doing that, especially with the rising costs of development. And we have more information about why these deals are not good for these companies that are putting games out just on PlayStation. I mean, we already know Square Enix came out and said it wasn't good. And now Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which has just released on Steam and on PC, it's hitting records here for any single player Final Fantasy game. It says here that Rebirth was released on PC on January 23rd, and according to the data on Steam database, it hit a peak of 40,564 concurrent players over the weekend. And this is higher than any other single player Final Fantasy game that has been on Steam, that they've achieved while putting it on Steam, and is significantly higher than the previous leader, Final Fantasy 15, which only hits 29,498. It says it should also be noted that Rebirth's numbers don't give it the title of most concurrent users for any Final Fantasy game ever. It only counts for the single player games. And of course, I mean, Final Fantasy 14 Online MMO, you're going to have more players in that. But 40,564. And I know that may not sound like a massive number for a lot of people, but it is a record for their single player games on Steam. And if you're Square Enix, you're looking at this, and I think you're having kind of two opposite reactions. At least that's what I would have if I was them. The first one is great. It means that people on PC want to play our games. They want to play our single player games. So we're going to keep putting our content out there on Steam. The second thing is, how many sales did they lose out on by not launching this day and date on PC at the same time as it released on the console? Tons. They probably lost out on more. I feel like that 40,000 number would be higher if they would have released it day one at the same time as it released on PlayStation. And then imagine if they also released it on Xbox at the same time. They lost out, I think, on a lot of sales right off of the bat. Now, will they make those up in time when they go down the line here and then release it on Xbox next and stuff? Probably. They're probably going to release it on the Switch too. They'll probably end up making it up, but they could have had all of that plus more going forward if they would have done it all day one, which is, I mean, what they have basically said why they're not doing these strategies anymore. Everything going forward from Square Enix sounds like it is going to be multi-platform. Now, PlayStation, they've had multiple third-party exclusive deals. Another one of those is the rise of the Ronin. That is no longer exclusive on PlayStation anymore. It got announced yesterday that it is coming to PC on March 11th. And what you can expect with this game in terms of the additions that you're going to have on PC is 8K resolution support, ultra wide and super ultra wide support, 120 FPS support, ray tracing, 3D auto, DLSS, FSR, and XESS, all here within Rise of the Ronin. So if you've been waiting to play this game, if you don't have a PlayStation, you didn't want to play it there, you're now going to be able to get this game on PC on March 11th. All these games are going to be multi-platform. In the future, I think we're going to see a lot less deals where they're only being locked to PS5. It is the way of the industry. It's the way that it is going. Xbox is ahead of the curve on this, and I think PlayStation is going to continue to follow along that direction. All right, let's talk Ubisoft now. Ubisoft, we talked yesterday about Assassin's Creed Mirage and them getting DLC, which is very odd because they believe announced that they were going to make DLC, but then we heard that there is a deal with a Saudi Arabia group, which is going to bring more content to that game. Wonder how that's going to do, because it's going to be releasing the same time that we are getting Assassin's Creed Shadows, or at least within the same year. So how many people are going to go back to Mirage? I just feel like it's not going to be a huge number. Ubisoft commented on this, but they won't confirm or deny whether this deal is true or not. It says here, in response given to Eurogamer, Ubisoft wouldn't confirm nor deny that a deal with the group has been reached. They say, we'll decline to comment. We are focused on finishing Assassin's Creed Shadows and excited for players to get it on the 20th of March. I would take a wild guess and say there is a deal, and there is going to be DLC coming to this game. They just don't want to overshadow Assassin's Creed Shadows. But at the same time, I don't really think you could. I think people are far more excited about Assassin's Creed Shadows over Assassin's Creed Mirage. At least if you're an Assassin's Creed fan and you're not somebody who's hoping this game fails right off of the bat, which if you go online, it seems like every day a lot of people are. The other thing here that's happening at Ubisoft, because we know they're not doing very well from a business perspective, and Assassin's Creed Shadows has to do well. I mean, a lot is riding on this game, and they're going to continue to make changes, and some of those changes are going to be layoffs and closing of studios. In fact, they announced here that 185 jobs have been lost because they are shutting down another studio. So it says, as a part of our ongoing efforts to prioritize projects and reduce costs that ensure long-term stability at Ubisoft, we have announced targeted restructuring at Ubisoft Dusseldorf, Ubisoft Stockholm, and Ubisoft Reflections, and the permanent closure of Ubisoft Leamington site. So they say, unfortunately, this should impact 185 employees overall. We are deeply grateful for their contributions and are committed to supporting them through this transition. And I feel like if Assassin's Creed Shadow does not do well, this is going to get even worse. You're going to see more studios close and more layoffs at Ubisoft. Oh, and the other thing that could be happening here is maybe they are setting up for a deal to happen. Maybe they're setting up for a sale, and this restructuring that is happening right now is because they want to make sure that the deal, whatever they've negotiated, does go through. We've heard so many things here with Tencent and how the Guillemot family still wants to be in charge, and that's what's holding back that deal. We don't know what's going to happen, but I think Assassin's Creed Shadows and the sales and success of that game is going to play a large role going forward as to what other measures Ubisoft take in order to make sure that they can still be successful going forward into the future. All right, and one more thing here. If you're a fan of Dying Light, Techland have revealed the next era of Dying Light as they celebrate their 10th anniversary. And what they say here is that at the same time we're celebrating the 10th anniversary of Dying Light, we are already hard at work on the next era of the franchise. Our recent major rebrand aims to establish the franchise as the ultimate zombie experience across all future projects. So whatever that means, don't really know. Maybe they're making this into kind of like a more hub world. Maybe it's going to be a larger game, a living game, a games as a service. That's kind of what that sounds like to me from that quote, but no, not really sure. They did also put out this picture here with the roadmap as to what you can expect from current Dying Light 2 and everything. 67% off right now is a discount if you've never played it, but then they're adding more events to the game itself and some more modes and stuff that you're going to be able to play, like the event of low gravity, the event of super crane, then the event of viral rush, and they're adding permanent release of the tower raid mode, and then a light up the night stream on February 19th. So that's kind of what's happening here with Dying Light and Techland, if you are a fan of that series. But that's it for me, guys. If you did enjoy this video, hit that thumbs up, subscribe, share the video, all that stuff. I appreciate all the support. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.
Thank you.